Iris recalls how she first met a young man in the store who accidentally knocked over a crate of oranges. She immediately felt a certain pull and was captivated by his smile. They exchanged names, and from that day on, they began living together. Later, they head to a lakeside cabin to meet Josh's friends. On the way, he gently teases her for dozing off most of the trip, and she asks where they are since the GPS isn't showing anything. Soon, the couple arrives at a magnificent house surrounded by trees and flowers. The car announces their arrival, and the two thank it. They walk toward the house when Iris stops. The thing is, she believes Josh's friends don't really like her. She worries she might blurt out something foolish, which would reflect poorly on Josh. He urges her to calm down and not imagine problems where there are none, advising her to smile more often. They are greeted by Kat, who invites them inside, where their mutual friends, Eli and Patrick, as well as Kat's boyfriend Sergey, the owner of the house, are already settled. The host praises Iris's beauty, which he's seeing for the first time. She, in turn, admires his home. Later, Kat shows them where their room is, and Iris goes upstairs. She unpacks her belongings, failing to notice a folding knife lying among her dresses. She takes a shower, reminding herself that she has to look happy. Later at the table, Patrick once again tells the story of how he and Eli first met. He'd shown up at a carnival dressed as Dracula and accidentally stepped on the tail of a dinosaur, inside which Eli was hiding. Iris insists their experiences are truly exciting. After all, back when Josh was still a stranger to her, she looked at him and already knew she was prepared to do anything to make him happy. After dinner, Patrick asks Sergey what he does for a living, and Sergey jokes that he often has to get his hands dirty. Meanwhile, Kat tells Iris that Sergey is the perfect man, wealthy, smart, and married to a beautiful wife. As for Kat, she's just a pretty accessory who must do whatever he says. She clarifies that she doesn't actually dislike Iris. It's just that seeing her makes Kat feel replaceable. Iris doesn't understand her. At that moment, Eli turns on some music and pulls everyone out to dance. Iris notices Josh talking to Kat and leads him away. Later that night, she confesses she's happy to be there with him. However, he cuts her off, saying he wants to sleep. In the morning, Iris invites him to the lake, but Josh suggests she go alone while he takes a shower and has his coffee. Iris walks to the lake. Admiring the scenery, she slips her hand into her shorts pocket and finds the knife there. At that moment, Sergey calls out to her. Surprising him, she unexpectedly answers in his native Russian. He suggests they raise a toast to love, making Iris uneasy. She's about to head back to the house, but Sergey asks her to rub sunscreen onto his back and shoulders. As she does so, he suddenly embraces her, saying he's long wanted to have her because she was made for this. Iris begs him to let her go. Meanwhile, the friends are relaxing in the living room, reminiscing about their shared adventures. Suddenly, Iris comes in covered in blood, holding a knife. When they demand an explanation, she tries to clarify that Sergey tried to force himself on her. She asked him to stop, but he wouldn't listen. She pushed him away, causing him to fall and hit his head. When he came to, he grew furious and pinned Iris down. Then she remembered the knife. She couldn't allow Sergey to take her away from Josh because she loves him so much. At that point, Josh gives a command, sleep, and Iris shuts down. Later, Patrick ties her to a chair while Eli gives Kat some medicine and puts her to bed. Josh sees no other option but to tell the police everything. Eli agrees, though he doesn't understand why Iris's aggression blocker failed. Josh asks for a moment to say goodbye to Iris. He turns her on, and she goes into hysterics upon realizing she's tied up. She begs to be let go, swearing she's telling the truth about Sergey's attack, but Josh has no doubts, because Iris simply can't lie. She's a companion robot he rented from the Empathix Robotics Company, designed for providing intimate services and emotional support to her owner. Iris thinks he's making a ridiculous joke. However, Josh asks her what the weather is like at that moment, and she obediently recites the full forecast, from temperature to outside humidity. He asks about her knowledge of foreign languages, opens an app on his phone, and with a few taps forces her to speak in Spanish, then Chinese. There are many more languages she can understand and produce simply by toggling a switch. Iris tries to insist that she has her own memories, but Josh says they're all fake. Even their meeting at the orange display was something he selected from the scenarios the company provided. In reality, company representatives brought her to his home. They explained that during her initial activation, he had to create a romantic bond to establish emotional attachment. He can change her voice, eye color, and personality traits, and Iris herself wouldn't know she's a robot. Her primary task is to take care of him. In extreme circumstances, he can reset all settings by pressing a button located behind her ear. Her emotions and intelligence, ranging from university graduate level to a simple machine with no demands, are controlled through a phone app. She can't lie and moreover can't harm living beings. After seeing the engineers out, Josh sits across from Iris, enters the necessary commands, and at that moment, she sees herself in the store by the oranges display, falling in love with him with all her heart. In the present, Iris doesn't understand him because she feels love, anger, guilt, sadness. She knows what pain is, but Josh explains that it's just part of her programming so that she seems realistic. Even her tears are just water that he pours into a special reservoir. Eventually, Iris believes him, but even if she isn't real, she's still his and wants to return home. Josh reminds her that she's killed someone, and now nothing will ever be the same. Kat then appears, insisting they shut Iris down. Josh steps away to talk, and while they argue, Iris notices the knife lying on the floor. Josh tries to convince Kat to give Iris a chance to learn the truth, pointing out all she's done for them and that he wants to say goodbye. Kat protests, calling Iris a piece of plastic. Meanwhile, Iris manages to grab the knife, overhearing how Josh plans to shut her down, open some champagne, and wait for the police because the robot has rid them of many problems. They'd been planning this for so long that now that it's worked out, he can hardly believe their luck. Josh and Kat embrace, but when he returns to the room, the freed Iris strikes him, steals his phone, and runs off. Eli and Patrick see her vanish into the woods. Later, Josh admits to his friends that he hacked Iris using a black market modification, raising her aggression level and disabling her built-in inability to harm living beings. If she's found and the hack is discovered, he'll be in serious trouble. Eli is horrified by the idea that Sergei's death was planned, but Josh explains that Sergei was a very bad person, trafficking illegal substances, weapons, and even people. He then offers to show them why they killed him. He leads Eli and Patrick into the house, where Kat opens a safe. Its code is Stalin's birthday and shows them $12 million that they plan to steal. They invited the couple so they could serve as witnesses to a murder committed by Josh's companion. Eli wants the money split 4 ways, but the killers oppose giving any share to Eli's robot. Enraged, Eli puts Patrick to sleep and starts to argue. Josh concedes that Eli may genuinely love his toy since he hasn't upgraded his outdated model, yet emphasizes that Patrick is still a robot. Besides, Eli hasn't done anything to earn this sum, though they're willing to share. After all, Josh is the one who devised the plan and put the knife in Iris's pocket in the first place. In the end, Eli agrees to help find the runaway robot, takes a gun from Sergei's safe, and revives Patrick, inviting him to join the hunt. Meanwhile, Iris is studying Josh's phone program, changing her eye color and voice before raising her intelligence level to 100%, up from the previous 40%. Meanwhile, the group of pursuers splits up to find Iris, who is busy formulating a plan to save herself. She needs to get back to the house, clean up, and figure out her next steps. She considers heading for the main road to hitch a ride, but instantly realizes what a driver would think upon seeing her bloodstained dress. So hitchhiking won't work. Walking is no good either. By the time she covers hundreds of miles of rough terrain, Josh will be waiting at home and will kill her on sight. Then Iris remembers that Josh's car can be controlled by his phone, so she heads back toward the cabin, but she runs into Patrick and Eli, who are in the midst of an argument. It turns out Patrick knows he's a companion robot but still loves Eli. Their confession is cut short by the sound of sticks snapping under Iris's feet. Realizing she's been spotted, she takes off running. Eli shoots at her, but misses. However, Josh and Kat hear the shot and rush in that direction. Eli reaches Iris first. They struggle, and in the scuffle, Iris ends up shooting him, killing him. Josh arrives and tries to shut her down, but Iris escapes and manages to get into the car while he tries to break in. She quickly encounters a problem, though. The car is voice-activated to Josh and refuses to drive her anywhere. Iris remembers the phone app and works to mimic Josh's voice while he tries smashing the car window with a rock. Just as it seems he's about to succeed, the car finally responds, rolling over Josh's foot. He grabs Sergei's phone and reports the car is stolen, causing it to stop, pull over, and lock Iris inside. Josh calls Iris, asking her to come back, promising that everything will be like before and they'll pin the murders on Patrick. Iris refuses and hangs up. Josh goes back to Patrick and reprograms him, disabling his ability to inflict harm, increasing his aggression, and ordering him to find and bring Iris back. To bind Patrick to himself, he makes the robot his companion. Now, in Patrick's memories, it's Josh who's in the dinosaur suit at the carnival. Meanwhile, a local sheriff pulls up to the car just as Iris is crawling out of the shattered window. She pretends to be a foreigner, confusing the officer until he notices a bloody knife in her car. He draws his gun, but Patrick appears on the road and kills the officer. Then, using Josh's phone to disable Iris, Patrick takes her back to the house. Kat, seeing the car and the sheriff's body, is horrified and declares she's leaving. Gathering up the money, she admits she lied about Sergei being a Russian mobster. He's just an agricultural magnate, hence his jokes about getting his hands dirty. Josh is outraged at her deception and orders Patrick to stop her. He drives a knife into her back. Kat makes it to the couch, collapses beside the unconscious Iris, and dies. Later, Patrick cooks dinner for Josh, who seats Iris at the table, waking her up while she's handcuffed to the chair so he can philosophize about the value of life. He tries to paint himself as a victim of an unjust society, but Iris mocks him, pointing out he's done nothing to better his life, only complains constantly, dissatisfied with everything. No amount of money can hide the fact that he's a bitter, pitiful, small-minded man. Enraged, he reduces her intelligence to 0%, turning her into an automaton, forcing her to hold her hand over the candle flame. He then calls empathics to have them collect Iris, but after the call, he orders her to shoot herself in the head, which she does. When the empathics employees, Sid and Teddy, arrive, Josh says his robot went crazy and nearly killed him. Patrick, disguised as the sheriff, backs up his story. As the engineers gather up the robot's parts, they explain that these models record everything they experience, with the data stored in their abdominal area. The gunshot to the head only disabled her Wi-Fi antenna. They head back to their vehicle, and from their conversation, it's clear they don't believe Josh at all. Severe consequences await him. But as they set off, Patrick appears in front of the car and opens fire. Sid is killed, but Teddy manages to escape. Meanwhile, Iris, placed in recovery mode, reactivates and runs after them. Patrick catches up to Teddy and is about to kill him, but then Iris arrives and reminds Patrick of his love for Eli. Suddenly, Patrick remembers his true partner and takes his own life with a stun gun. Meanwhile, Josh is stuffing all the money from the safe into a bag when he hears footsteps, thinking Patrick has returned. But it's Iris who appears, announcing that the grateful Teddy, for saving his life, gave her complete control over herself, freeing her from the app's commands. She's now free. Josh tries to attack her, but halts when he sees her gun. Iris explains she's come back to tell him he's no longer her master. This enrages him, and he lunges at her, managing to wrestle the gun away and forcing her to admit that he is everything to her. Then he's about to shoot her in the abdomen when she kills him with an electric skewer. The next morning, she takes a shower, peeling the burnt skin from her arm to reveal the metal construction beneath it. She then gathers the money and drives away. En route, she passes a car carrying a man and a companion who looks like Iris. The robot smiles and waves at her with its metal hand. Even though stories about humanoid robots going haywire have become quite cliché, this film turned out to be rather interesting and full of surprises. The only thing is, once again, the moral boils down to evil humans and good robots. But maybe that's how it really is?